And welcome to Snow Moon Rising, 1 February 2026, episode 38 of John's Eclectic Photo Time Adventure Series. And I'm over here at Meridian State Park to take photos of the full snow moon here on February 1st. And here's a picture of the map of the park. And I'm going to be set up right over in this spot right here, right there, and the moon's supposed to come up right through this area. I'm at campsite 30, and there's 31 over there. They're wilderness sites. There are no restrooms or anything in that location. And here is a more detailed view of the different campsites. And as I said, I'm going to be over here at 30 and shooting over through this way towards the rising full moon. The snow moon is going to be rising at 6:03 p.m. and so it's still going to be light out. So I need to make sure that the camera that I used the moon streak on, I tested it last night. Normally I use a 10-stop ND filter, but for this time I'm going to use a 13. I tested it last night and it looked pretty good. And as I just mentioned, I did a test shot the day before, Saturday, because when I was sitting outside I was like, okay, it's 6:05 and it's still really light out here. And normally I just use a 10-stop ND filter. So I went and did a test shot. So I have the Jetmag Nisi Pro filters. And so I used a 10 and a 3 to make it a 13. And like I said, this is the sample that I took. And so we're over here at the lookout over Meridian State Park. This is the one on the west side of the lake. We got our first shot into the bag, and this is pretty much the view that we got. See if we can get it to come down here. A little bit of sun out here. Let's see if we can lighten that up some. I went the wrong way. So we have the 28 to 70. The first one was at 28. And then we're going to go ahead and do some bracketing and maybe a focus stack because of all this clutter down here in the front. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. Once again, we're out here to shoot the snow moon here on February 1st. And here is that edited version of that view, and I really like the one that has Charlie in it. There was a couple others, but when Charlie stepped in, he kind of distracts one from all the clutter up in the foreground there. But there's still the pretty view looking eastward over the Meridian Lake at Meridian State Park. Out here at Meridian State Park, we have Charlie out here with us. And looks like he is busy chomping down on a stick. And so we have the park leash, is what I'm calling this. It's 16 feet to allow him to roam free. Dogs have to be on a leash at all times, so we can zoom in on Charlie. Okay, once again, here is the view from the overlook. And if any of these pictures turned out, I'll show them next. So using the Photo Pills app, and we had to do it early because come nightfall there is no cell signal here. So as soon as I arrived on site, pulled out the phone, got it calibrated to the sun, and found 3 different locations in which to set the different cameras up. So just to the left over here is where the sun's going to be coming up. And so what we did I say we, Charlie and I. I need to put the hiking boots on because you can still see we have leftover ice from over a week ago. Charlie's out checking everything out. So we've got these two big tall trees, and if we come close enough and right through there, past the boat dock, right there is where the moon's supposed to rise. So this is going to be where the moon streak photo is taken. Come around on the other side of this big tree, and right between this gap is where we're going to take the video. And then over on this side is where we're going to take the sequence, the exposure brackets. And we're trying to get a little bit of the foreground, the boat dock, and right where the curve, let me get my finger in here, right there is where the moon should be coming up at. And here are 3 of the images that I saved inside of the Photo Pills app on my phone, because as I mentioned, once nightfall comes about, you lose your cell signal down in this area. And so this was on the left-hand side. Here's the center part where the 2 trees, where the moon streak picture will be taken. And then over here is just an overall composite of where the moon is supposed to rise. And needless to say, it came up about 5 degrees to the right of where it is in that image. So it's approaching 5 o'clock, and the sunrise is at 6:03 tonight. And let me go show you what I got set up. And first, what I got to show you set up is Charlie, all nice and comfortable. Charlie, you nice and comfortable? All right. So this is the view. It's just a little bit, it's more than northeast, but not east. And so what we have set up is we have the Canon R5 down here. There's the Canon R5, and it's going to be shooting the video tonight. That's the one I used last night for the practice. And then we have the Canon R5 Mark II with the 28-70, and it looks like we're about 60 millimeters. And that's going to be doing 7 frames every 30 seconds. And then over here we have the Canon R6 Mark III with 13 ND filter. And once again, when I came out 3 hours ago or 2 hours ago, the moon's supposed to come up right in there. So let's see how well we do on that. So that's what we got going on right now. We got a small little fire going. And I've already seen a couple armadillos wandering around. Talked to a couple that immigrated from Poland earlier. They were out walking their 2 dogs. They're out of Cleburne, which is a town probably about 50 miles away from here, out here in the country. And we had a nice conversation, and their 2 dogs and Charlie actually played pretty well together. And here is the small campfire with very old wood that is very smoky. And it's now about 5:30, and while it's not golden hour yet, it's got a nice glow over there on that far side of the lake. So you could not have asked for a better day, or going into golden hour. Here's the image from the golden hour from the R5 Mark II, looking towards the proposed, or where we thought the moon was going to rise. It was a little bit more to the right of this point. But the whole thing was, the lake was just perfectly smooth. There had been 2 kayakers out there earlier, but they had left about an hour. There was no wind, just perfectly calm, and just, I just love this reflection. So we are now at, where are we at here? We're at 5 minutes to 6. Once again, the moon's supposed to come up at 6:03. We're approaching blue hour here. Blue hour is about 8 minutes only. And here's the view right here. So we took some photos of that with both the streak, so we can, if we have to replace the foreground, and also the 7 pictures in the exposure bracketing. So we were pretty fortunate, we being Charlie and I, were pretty fortunate that the temperature actually had to shed the sweater and everything, but as you can see now, I have the hat and the scarf on. I also put on some gloves as the temperature is now down in the low 40s. The low tonight is supposed to be 26, but we're going to be going well before it gets down that cold. And the sun has now left the horizon. That didn't last very long, probably about 10 minutes only. And it's now 6:25, and the moon has finally come over the horizon. Let me go ahead and turn this around. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Just a beautiful reflection off the lake. You got the silhouette, you got the moon. And we got Charlie behind us wanting attention. Right when the excitement happens. He's been sleeping for the last hour. And now he wants to play. And once again, this was taken with the R6 Mark III. This is the moon streak. This is a 27-minute exposure. And it's hard to judge when to turn the bulb off because you can't see anything through the LCD screen or anything. So it's a hit and miss. But I just love how I was able to stop this, and just once again, the lake was just perfectly smooth. Nothing was going on. I loved how I was able to capture the dock, the reflection in the water, and as the moon as it rises. So in this image is where I took all 61 sequences of the moon rising into Photoshop, into layers, and then select the very first one, then remove the next 3, take the next one, remove the next 3, and yes, there's a halo around this because in the next image I'm going to show you, you're going to see how bright the moon actually was. And if I had included that halo coming around the moon, then there would not have been any sequence of moonshots. So each sequence taken of 7 frames on the Canon R5 Mark II were every 30 seconds. So here are 2 different images. It's not the same image. And it just shows how bright the moon was once it got up there. And thus I couldn't I couldn't match all those up in the Photoshop because it would have just been one bright sunburst or starburst. So here is an accelerated time lapse of the moon rising over the Meridian State Park lake, and this was 33 minutes, and so I crunched it down to times 20. So once everything was said and done with the exposures, the video, and the moon streak, I pulled out the 200 to 800 with a 1.4 extension, set that up on one of the tripods, and focused in on the moon itself. And here is, to me, it's very nice and detailed and everything. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the snow moon rising over Meridian Lake at Meridian State Park on 1 February 2026. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and hit that like button. Thank you.